Real lead, presenting pleasing Hopper, so he just throws the boot at it. It's going to be offline and short, and then Lob just diffuses it.
He's a battering ram at the moment. He's got 3 or 4 really big hits this quarter. He keeps fronting up.
Yeah, he was a bit dazed. Maybe that's the reason for the turnover. He's got lips like Mick Jagger at the moment. He's had a couple of big whacks to him, and I think one of them is bleeding at the moment. So I'll see if he can mop that blood off and not come off. Back into play. And Curvis almost pressed here. Takes his moment. No, he doesn't. Gee, that looked home. But it hit the wood.
Yeah, certainly looked good in flight, didn't it? Bramble. Williams. Out to Kennedy running hard and then just drops his size over.
But this is where the Dogs look dangerous, when they go straight away from a missed shot inside foot 50, keep the ball in motion, make the ground really big. I mean, the lob kick was a mistake inside the corridor, but that just shows they want to get to the open side, really make this Richmond team defend the whole ground, and in doing so, fatiguing them a little bit.
Dolan out to Harms, and now quick hands Treloar. Treloar runs hard, thinks about it. Darcy up the ground, couldn't quite complete it that time. Smithing ball to Prestia, back to Vloston. Big crowd in here on a Sunday afternoon. Richmond have a decent following, and the Dogs in the local area, of course, a home game, hosting Richmond today, and plenty of noise as a result. Dolan to Richards, and then Richards, look at that, straight to Darcy lace out. And as you'd say, Wayne, with a little ribbon on it as well.
He's a fun watch, isn't he?
He is, but how good's Josh Dolan there?
Oh, yeah.
To cut off against the opposition ruckman, to get high, he cops a bit of a whack, but then just shovels it out. Loose ball to a teammate. Geez, he has a go, the young fellow. I really enjoy watching him play.
Well, this man has created so much interest, and even a neutral would come through the turnstiles to see this man play. So exciting, and puts through another one. His third.
Probably spent a little bit more time, too much time not on the feature act there. Sam Darcy is clearly that. He's up in bright lights and keeps delivering, doesn't he? There are 5 shots on goal already in the first half. He's taken a couple of contested marks. He's leaving Noah Bolter a merry dance. It's the work that he does off ball. You can really see, you can see here, Fatside, Noah Bolter's really wide. Sam Darcy's tracking back to trying to get line of ball, and Bolter switched off for a couple of seconds. Can't afford to do that against the best players in the competition.
He's not sprinting, Darcy. Like, it's just, you're right, it's just jogging back to make position, because of the contest on the wing was still a 50-50. So get back, make position in case you're needed.
And that man, Ed Richards, again with another goal assist.
Yeah. You're right, great contest by Dolan.
Richards just overran it for a second. Another of their young guns, Frazier, can't break free. It's only 3 games outside of Rising Star eligibility, Joel Frazier. He played 13 last year. Had he played 10, he'd probably be the favourite for it. Here he is on cue. It's between his legs somewhere in there. Umpire lets it roll. In fact, look at a young player. So Sanders a late withdrawal today, but Cooper Hines game 5. Sam Davidson game 14. Josh Dolan game 9. Got some youth, the Dogs.
Prestia tried to sit it up for Brown, or just won't stick, will it? Slippery football. Bontempelli, it was like soap. Then West, Richards, too fast for his own good. Did well on hands and knees, back to Bontempelli. Long ball to the top of the square, Norton or Darcy. Darcy picks it up, gave it to Hines. He wants a goal, and he gets one. Cooper Hines' second goal in his career. And they're piling them on.
Yeah, it has been a relentless quarter for the Dogs. Their pressure further up the field, the follow-up work from Richards and Bontempelli, and then the contest for the ball. You see there, Sam Darcy, we laud him for the stuff that he does in the air, but the cleanliness at ground level in this contest right here. And then all you need to do as a small forward or as a midfielder is get to the front, get yourself set, and quick hand of foot. It's a good finish. It's been a big quarter from the Dogs. Really broken the game open.
Sarah Jones.
Adam Treloar just ran off the ground and straight down into the rooms. He looked pretty disappointed. BK15 is warming up, and there looks to be some consultation going on between the doctors and the physios on the sidelines. We'll try and get an update from the club shortly.
Yeah, calf strain wrecked his start for the year, so let's hope it's not a soft tissue injury for Treloar. Let's hope it's not an injury, full stop. Sonzi feeds it further on to Campbell. Can they get something against the grain here, the Tigers? Or Caulfield, who's playing for his life right now, back into the team, first game of the season.
Since round 22 last year, so he's thrown his body in 3 or 4 times. He's definitely wanting to put his best foot forward.
Adam Treloar with 3 separate setbacks since December of last year, so that's very disappointing for him. So we're eagerly awaiting the news there. BK15, the sub for the Dogs, getting ready to get out there. Bontempelli floats one to Richards, that hung for a long time, and then he just disposed of his opponent to Kennedy, a true centre wing. No one really on the mark, so he just ambles forwards and spears it out to Darcy. Too far out to score. Looks for the Norton direction. Got a bit of air, got some hands to it, couldn't grab it. Miller taken to ground. And a ball up.
Just love that. They had run and carry options. I think it was Kennedy who laced up Sam Darcy. They'd run and carry options, had a leading option. Darcy could have handballed over the top, but he had Norton. Then the ball hits the ground. You've got a crumbing player who tackles. Just in good shape.
Flung in the air, big pack around it. So 148, 147. The clock kicks down to half-time. It looks like they might even get Burku on the dying stages of this half. Always warming up. Keep an eye on that. Offer blasted away. Bramble under it with Campbell. Fall. Didn't take it out. Arms. Williams. And we'll get a ball in. Last time these two teams met, over a year ago now, round 9 last year, the Dogs won by 91. 56 in front now.
Well, I don't think Richmond have done a lot wrong.
No.
They've just been outclassed. I don't think their work ethic has dropped off. You know, Bolter probably hasn't been quite as tight as you would have liked on Darcy, but the Bulldogs midfield's just gone to work.
Bramble floats one inside 50. West tried to take it off his shoelaces, couldn't quite. Running hard, Bolter slams it on the boot to a foot race. And then the ball, as it would, the unique shape, spins back. Caulfield on hands and knees was pushed in the back, advantage paid. Davidson got it to Richards. Richards to the pocket, in the front spot. Norton couldn't complete the mark, goes running after his own work. Broad goes in, Darcy over the top. West picked it up, no one to handball it to, but he got it away legally. Bolter hits it hard. Hot football to win. Norton tries to get it back out to Darcy. Darcy trapped it cleverly. Then to Bontempelli. Floats one to Kennedy, who had company. Then tried to float it to Hines. Picked up by Vlosten. By hand out to Taranto. Taranto dodging and weaving. Desperately tries to clear the area, and they do through Ross.
30 seconds from getting a breather. At least the Tigers, they can reset, but they're being dominated. McIntosh turns and goes. Well, Campbell can get this, and he'll have a last roll of the dice. He is a goal kicker. He goes to fall. Wrong option. Lob goes hard. Stolen back by Campbell, the workhorse, trying to get a consolation prize for the half. Bramble, Liberatore, Kennedy, Hines, Kennedy. The Bulldog fans were all on the siren. They are hunting a spot in the top 8, the Dogs. Begin the round 9th. Look out. 56 points in front at a half-time. The cream looks like it's rising to the top in 2025.
It has. What a great quarter. Very strong quarter by the Dogs. 18 insides to 7, and they got their front half game going. They squared up that fat side winger, didn't give Richmond the easy outlet, forced it into contest more, and then just went to work. Cleaner, harder inside, and their hands and their ability to get clear into space has been brilliant.
Libba showed me that tattoo before the game. He got a new spaghetti and meatballs. He told me. And he might get one to celebrate game 250 coming up in a couple of weeks. Sarah Jones downstairs.
I've got Ed Richards with me. Ed, a powerhouse opening half. How do you keep the intensity up in the second half?
I think we just got to stick to our fundamentals. It was pretty good in that quarter. Everyone's sharing the ball, looking for each other, especially inside 50. So if we can get those good looks, I think we'll be able to continue that.
Sam Darcy's having a marvellous game. 3 goals too. He's such a big focal point for you. But how balanced do you have to be with those entries inside 50 to make sure you're not too focused on him?
We did speak about that, not always going to Darcy. I mean, he's going to have a lot of attention, but he seems to be putting up with it pretty nicely. So I'm sure we'll keep going with him, to be honest.
All right, good luck for the second half. All right, stay with us here on the Sunday Ticket on Fox. It's the Western Bulldogs leading it by 56 points after the break. Jordan Lewis and Nathan Buckley dissect the first half action.
All right, there we go. It is half time here at Marvel Stadium, folks. 10-6-66. The Western Bulldogs, the Tigers, well, they only managed to kick 1 goal for 10. It's the Dogs by 56 points at half time. I tell you what, this is the side, folks. This is the side that's going to trouble all the top 8 sides. Of course, for all those Western Bulldogs fans, if we turn the live ladder on, you are in the top 8. You're sitting 8th at the moment. And I tell you what, that is trouble for the sides above 32 points. You're only a game off. Can you believe it? You're only a game off 4th spot Western Bulldogs. Tell you what, this is the team that I think will play off in the grand final with Collingwood. I think the Collingwood Western Bulldogs will play off in the grand final for you Bulldog supporters out there. I tell you what, your side is back. It's strong. It looks great. And, of course, with Darcy back in there, tell you what, they're going to be very hard to stop the Western Bulldogs, as Richmond are finding out today. But for Richmond this season, as we all know, it's not about how many games you win. It's about getting your structures right, getting your play right, getting your team to gel, and just doing some of the right things with this Richmond, this young team, the Tigers. But tell you what, they're facing a tough test today against the mighty Bulldogs. Can the Richmond Tigers set themselves, reset, and come out a little bit more competitive in the second half? Of course they were, folks. They were in the opening quarter. Of course, Richmond won 3-9 in the opening term. The Dogs just 3-3-21. They led by 12 points after quarter time. But the Doggies put on 7 goals, 3 in that second term. The Tigers could only manage 1 behind. So the margin certainly stretched out like a lacquer band. Hoo-wee, how much more of that lacquer band can the Dogs stretch this margin out to? That's going to be the thing we're going to find out in about 15 minutes' time when we head back down to the ground for the second half. Let's just have a little bit of a look. Actually, I want to have a look at the lineups because we didn't have a look at that. There we go. For the Western Bulldogs, Nick Caulfield comes in. James Harms comes in, going out. Luke Cleary, Riley Sanders goes out for the Bulldogs. The sub is Camis, Booker Camis. Ryan, how you going? Come on, Tigers. Shouty. For the Tigers, coming in is Jasper Alga, going out. Kane McCulphy. And, of course, Jasper Alga is the new player and sub. And that is the only milestone game because it's his debut game for the Tigers today. Good luck to you. Tell you what, they've got a lot of young players there, new players bringing in. So that's fantastic. Give them a little bit of a shot. It's you know what it's I tell you what, it's tough opposition to come in for your debut game against a full squad of the Bulldogs that are absolutely running hot, running rampant at the moment. Let's have a look at the goal scorers in the game so far. But you know what? I think we might have a little bit of a look at that not too far away, because I think we'll head back to the commentators and they'll give us a little bit of a wrap-up analysis, what their thoughts are on the opening half here. Let's see what they have to say about the Dogs and the Tigers and how the players are going. All right, let's head back to the commentators in just a moment. Before we do, want to welcome in the Egg Pacific TV. How you going? Shout out. The Sniper, what's happening, bro? What's going on? The famous gamer here on YT, the Sniper, good stuff. Of course, Ryan Avery, Rogue One, come on, Tigers. One of the biggest Tiger fans I know. Along with a couple of friends, I tell you what, they're big Tiger fans. I tell you what, they used to give me hell when the Tigers were going through all those premiership runs that they had. Yeah, they're a little bit quieter now, but rebuilding is a real thing. It just takes time. Every team goes through it. We've just got to face these hard times. And I think the main thing for the Tiger supporters out there, you just need to see progress week to week with your new young players, the team coming in. You just want to see a little bit of progress and see them going forward, no matter what the win or loss is. All right, let's head back to the commentators. They'll give us a little bit of a wrap up of the opening half, and then we'll get back and have a look at the stats and the goal scorers.
The timeline. And Nathan Buckley, we're watching some superstars in this one as well. I mean, Marcus Bontempelli, some say he's the greatest Bulldog of all time. The supporters of VJ Witten will have a say about that. But the way Bont is playing again today is showing why he is in that equation.
Yeah, he's silky smooth. He's had 19 touches. He's kicked the 2 goals. He gets involved in all elements of the game, clearances, tackles. He's brilliant when he goes about his business. He does it with a minimum of fuss. He seems to be like the duck on the pond, not working that hard, but underneath his work rate and his tank is profound. Just makes the right decisions at the right times, and part of a midfield at the moment that absolutely got on top of the Tigers in that quarter.
So Marcus Bontempelli's had it 19 times. Ed Richards has had it 16 times to this point in the game. It's a 10-1 scoreline, and talk about where you like your stars. They've got stars forward, the Western Bulldogs. They've got midfielders like Marcus Bontempelli who can push forward and kick goals. Ed Richards keeps this run of goals going as well, where he can continue to set them up, but he can also kick them himself.
Yeah, well, if Bont is potentially the highest rated or a judged player, statistically, Ed Richards is the #1 player in the competition in 2025. He's kicked a goal. He had 16. He's kicked a goal. Just once again, just another really good ball user. I think the production line off the half-back of the Western Bulldogs has been excellent. And Ed Richards has come from that background, so he knows how to play on an opposition player and then lead that opposition player to go and win the footy and attack. And that's exactly what we see. He's had 2 direct goal assists from 3 inside 50s to have 22 for the year. 22 direct goal assists to be #1 and lead all comers. So 2 dogs that are having exceptional seasons and exceptional first halves this afternoon.
It's a fun watch if you're a Bulldog fan as we head downstairs to Sarah Jones and Jordan Lewis.
Thank you very much, Dwayne. Sam Darcy is a beautiful footballer to watch in full flight, isn't he, Geordie? In the air, he's so impressive, and that's probably what he's best known for. But I've been super taken by the work he's doing at ground level.
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to pick apart his game, and certainly his ground level play is as good as his stuff in the air. And I think the match-up between he and Noah Bolter today has been interesting, and Noah Bolter has, I think, given him the luxuries of being able to go inside forward 50 and be really unopposed. So as a defender, if you are handing over your direct opponent, you must make sure that the person you are handing him over to understands the responsibility. So I think on occasions Noah has let him run and jump the ball. On occasions he's handed him over to someone that's not even there to hand over. So, I mean, Sam Darcy's been on the move. He's created space. He's really launched the ball really well. But I would think that Adam Uze will be looking to change that particular matchup in the second half, maybe to a Ben Miller, who will be more accountable inside the forward 50. But he's had 3 goals too. 4 marks inside forward 50. He's contributing heavily.
Richmond are clearly outclassed by a side that we think should be playing finals this year. But if you like their work rate and their commitment?
Well, I think so. I think Luke Beveridge would be really happy with that. I think it's one of those things you look at when you come to a game, you know you should win, you know you should win well. It is about the behaviours, and the behaviours haven't waned.
All right, we're going to head to the Fox Footy newsroom now, where David Zeta has the latest on the Expansion Cup and what was a thriller between the Giants and the Gold Coast Suns. Zeets, how did it all unfold?
It was an unbelievable match, one of the games of the year so far. It was a seesawing contest. The Gold Coast Suns got off to a flyer, but then the Giants just gradually pegged them back before ultimately coming out victors. So 7-point winners in the end for the Giants, and it puts them back, or puts them in the top 8 and keeps the Suns out of the top 8. So because of the way the Dogs are going at the moment, if they keep this up and get the win, which we assume they will, it means that the Suns will be out of the 8 at the end of the round for the first time this season. So the second half blues for the Suns well and truly continuing. They led by 29 points at one stage before it ultimately just fell flat and they weren't able to keep up with the Giants tsunami. So a massive win for them. Locking midfield now, the Giants did win, But Lockie Whitfield was subbed out with concussion after an incident here with Ben King. Now, I don't see Ben King having too much to worry about here. He is contesting the ball. It seems reasonable in the circumstances. That's what the MRO will have to decide. Was this a reasonable way to contest the ball in the circumstances? If not, then Ben King's in trouble, but I'd expect he would be okay from that incident there. So a massive, a fair bit of fallout and a huge win for the Giants in the hopes for pushing for a premiership this year.
Seats, I'm going to get Jordan Lewis's thoughts on that. That was a heavy hit.
Yeah, initially it looks like he's got nothing to worry about. I thought it was relatively reckless the way that Lockie Whitfield attacked that contest head first when there was another plane coming in the other direction. So I think his technique was off. I don't think he's got anything to worry about. For mine, it was touching the ball as he was going in towards that contest. So yes, Lockie Whitfield he's unlucky that he had to go off with concussion, but I don't think Ben King's got anything to worry about.
Okay, hopefully Lockie Whitfield is doing okay. What about Matt Rowell and his contract? Any developments?
Yeah, there has been. So he has decided that he wants to stay put at the Suns. So this is just something that needs to be ticked off now, and a deal has to be done. But the main consideration was what Matt Rowell wanted to do, and he has decided, after plenty of consideration, that he wants to remain a Gold Coast Sun for at least the next 2 seasons before ultimately free agency and a massive contract coming his way wherever it is he decides to play for the rest of his career. So a loss today for the Suns on the field, but a massive win off it with Matt Rowell reaffirming his commitment to the club. So that hopefully gets done in the not too distant future. And a big win for Bulldogs fans, seeing Jamari Ugle-Hagan back at the club obviously recently. So he appeared on a podcast, a Rip Through It podcast with Mitch Robinson and Reece Matheson. He spoke a fair bit and at length about his struggles mentally over the course of this year and last year, and spoke about his trip to a Byron Bay health retreat. He spoke about lots of things really and how dark things got for him, but ultimately he says that he loves the Dogs. He wants to play at least another game for them and potentially many more, and says he's committed to his contract for next season. He says that he's got the fun back. He realises why he plays footy again. So great news and great stuff to hear from someone who was clearly going through a fair few struggles. Now the question is if it can remain consistent over this next training block and then potentially get himself into the VFL to play some games. So that's obviously a fair way in the distance, but great signs for the Dogs. A win for them to have him back at the club and in good spirits, and plenty of wins coming their way by the looks of it, Jonesy.
Wonderful to hear that he is doing so much better. Thank you to David Zeta in the newsroom. Well, what have Richmond got to throw at the Western Bulldogs in the second half? We'll have all the action from Marvel Stadium coming up. And then on AFL 360 tomorrow night, the Tigers coach Adam Uze will join, along with Damien Hardwick, the man he replaced Dimmer after the Suns' thrilling loss to the Giants. And then on the couch, where all the big opinions happen, Monday night, unmissable television right here on Fox Footy.
All right, there we go. We are just 6 minutes away. See, how you going? What team are you going for? Oh, we all know the Western Bulldogs will win this, and I think the margin's just going to grow out. I think this margin today could get out over the 100 points without a shadow of a doubt. So you just got just a young team in the Tigers trying to learn their craft. Of course, the Western Bulldogs, they've pretty much got their full squad in, I think. I'm not sure if they're really missing anyone, but they're in fine form, the Western Bulldogs. And as I was saying to the folks before, see, I think the Western Bulldogs are the team that'll play off in the grand final with the mighty Collingwood Football Club. I think we're going to see over the next few weeks the Western Bulldogs certainly climb the ladder and climb it fast. I think they are the danger team, certainly to all the teams ranging from 7th to 2nd on the ladder. I think they're going to give everyone a big shake. Of course, having Sam Darcy back in almost quarter 3, they've only won 10. They only have 10 insane. Dogs are for sure going to win this. Absolutely, they'll win this one. Hands down, hands down. All right, let's go back and have a look at the goal scorers as we we're going to do, and some of the stats. You can see your player here, who's got what and where and how. And Sam Darcy, of course, leads the goal scorers out on the ground for the Dogs. He's got 3 goals too from his 15 disposal 8 kicks. Tell you what, he is one of the dominant players in the competition. This man, Sam Darcy. The Bont, great to see him back. Of course, a little bit easier opposition for him. He's got 2. They're the only multiple goal scorers out on the ground so far. And of course, that's from the Bulldogs. Riley Westhead Richards, Neil Cooper Hines, Sam Davidson. They've all got singles for the Doggies. And for the Tigers, just Steely Green, the only single goal scorer there for the Tigers up until half-time. Look, it'd be nice to see the Tigers get at least a few more goals there, just so it doesn't completely obliterate these young players out there. Let's have a look at the disposal getters out there. The Bont, great to see him back on top. He's got 19, 8 kicks, 11 handballs. He's had 1 mark, 2 tackles, 5 clearances, 2 straight goals for the Bont. So fantastic so far from him. Great to see him back. Flying is the Bont. Of course, Nick Vlosten, best for the Tigers, just one behind on 18 with 12 kicks, 6 handballs, 4 marks, 2 tackles. Good to see him up and about. Sam Davison, next best for the Doggies, on 17. Richards, 16. Sam Darcy, as I said, 15 touches, 8 kicks, 7 handballs, 6 marks. Tell you what, he's hard to stop in that marking contest. I think they were saying about 3.9 metres or something like that when his reach is up. So there we go. Hard to stop. Tall man. 1 tackle, 1 hit out, 2 clearances, 3 goals, 2. How many more is he going to kick? Holy Toledo. Could kick a bag for Bailey Williams, 14. Libba, good to see Libba back in action with 14. I love the way he's gone about his football this year. Tim Taranto, next best for the Tigers, on 13. I tell you what, the Tigers aren't getting much of the hands on the ball, are they? Prestia on 11. What's Riley Sanders? We'll have a look at that. Have we come down to him yet? Let me have a little bit of a look. Riley Sanders. Let's roll on down a little bit more. Players back out on the field. Trelaw's on 10. Well, where's Riley Sanders? My God, I can't even see him. Can't even see him, can I? Riley Sanders. Riley. I can't even see him. I don't even... Oh, actually, let me have a look. Riley Sanders is actually out. There we go. That's why we don't see him. Ins and outs. Nick Caulfield and James Harms comes in for the Dogs. Luke Cleary, Riley Sanders, they are out. They are out. So they were your team stats, your player stats, I should say. Team stats. So yeah, he's out. He's out today, Riley Sanders. There we go. Bulldogs, there we go. Around about 60-odd possessions, disposals, plus in this game. Look, they should be winning every section of the team stats, I would imagine. They're about plus 50 and plus 20 on kicks, handballs. Inside 50s, 33. I would have expected that to be a little bit more, but they are kicking pretty good. 16 scoring shots, 33 inside 50s. The Tigers only managing 17 inside 50s, not many at all. I'm wondering if the Tigers can hit 30 points today. That'll be interesting. There we go. Their efficiency is pretty good at 75.5. 11 free kicks apiece. Umpires pretty evenly umpiring this game. Hit-outs, there we go. They're plus 5, plus 6 in the clearances. Well, the Tigers are matching it with the Dogs. Centre clearances, 5 apiece. The Dogs doing a little bit better around the ground, though. Plus 6 in the stoppage clearances. Contested possession, there we go. It's the Dogs only by 5, but controlling the ball, controlling 56, more than 50% better than the Tigers. 157, 101. There we go. Turnovers reasonably similar, 35, 41. Just that control of the ball, 66. They're plus 30 in the marks. And a 6-3. Well, the Tigers are doing all right. They've had 3 marks inside 50, so not too bad. The Dogs on 6, so plus 3 there. Would have thought it was a little bit more. There we go. The tackles, well, the Tigers are probably tackling more because the Dogs have got ball in hand. So that's why the Dogs are probably just at 28 tackles because they got the ball and the Tigers haven't. There we go. Tackles inside 50. Good to see. 7-4. All right. Hey, let's get back to the action, see? And everyone else, it's the Dogs by 56 points. What's the margin going to be? Well, I'll tell you what, I think it's going to extend out over 100. We'll certainly find out as we head down for the third quarter.
Takes away that outlet for the Tigers, and now it's been forced in the contest more often, where the Dogs have just been that little bit better.
So we recommence with the Dogs looking to reach the top 8 after the match tonight. Dan Curvis with the first tap. That was emphatic. Picked up by Liberatore to Bontempelli out to Dale. And Dale swings it out wide. Attacking it hard.
What a kick.
Kennedy.
Full speed on your left.
And rifles one into Liberatore. The first passage of play will be with the forward line of the Dogs. English Spoiled by Miller. Gloston out to Prestia, and the Tigers can clear.
Topped another one of the ribs there, English as well. He's in the hands of trainers. He's up now. Hopefully okay. So the Tigers can get some momentum. Almost a rip of the arm of Hopper there. Not paid. Williams weaves his way through the traffic nicely. Kennedy will be pretty happy he's changed clubs. Williams back out wide to Marcus Bontempelli. He's had his own share in this afternoon. He beckons those to come at him. Burke over the top. Sub on. And with his first touch, might kick a goal.
Well, it was a really clever play by Marcus Bontempelli, calling Tim English up because he knew Buku Kamas was leading into the space that he had left. You can see there, calling Tim English up so he could go over the top to Buku.
So 2 goals from 4 possessions last week against St Kilda, subbed out in the last quarter.
Stay your approach.
Just on, just into it. And straight through the middle.
It's a nice way to come on and get involved in the game really early. And once again, it was a turnover off half-back from the Dogs. You can see they wanted to go to the open side. And Richmond actually did a really good job of forcing them back skinny, but they just had too many numbers. There was a nice deep inside 50 kick from Marcus Bontempelli to a lead that Buku Kamas presented. Could have gone to James Harms as the handball was in front, another 10 metres, but decided to go himself.
But that's that fluid use that we saw from the Dogs. That outlet is taken away on fat side, so let's stop, plop. I'll have a look at my handball options. No, I'm going to go back skinny side, and the Dogs are presented in shape for an outlet there. So hard to defend.
13 goals for Buku Kamas. He's been very good and straightforward in front of goal. Taranto's wobbly, speary one towards Mansell is a good passage of play for the Tigers with a quick response.
Yeah, well, Mansell was out of position. Williams had the inside. So Taranto, under pressure, just had to kick it off the outside of his right boot.
So Ryan Mansell. No angle to speak of. You've got the best seat in the house right behind him.
Here's another that's been inaccurate this season. 6 goals, 11 now for Ryan Mansell. 38-26 career, so previous to this year, it's been pretty accurate. O'Donnell to Frazier, picking that way through them. Kennedy got some heat, happy to take it with the Sharon. Williams, Dale had 49 possessions in a game a few weeks ago, 37 last game against the Saints. Gets it back for the 1-2 here to Davidson, and he's raked that in millimetres from the line. No.
He looked out, yeah.
Okay.
It was millimetres from the line, but it was the other side.
That's right.
At the moment, 16 possessions for Dale, 21 for Marcus Bontempelli, top of the pops for the Dogs. To the hot spot on the wing, lob, just patted it down, going hard for a run, Green. Really attacking the line with a bounce and into the pocket. Mansell's got back spot here, just tried to climb towards Frazier, just couldn't quite drag it in, and now it is wrapped up.
Yeah, well, it was well done by Frazier.
Positioning.
Yeah. He knew he couldn't get back and put body on, so he made the Richmond player come to him and he held his nerve.
English and Nankervis just a little hip Frazier out to Bontempelli. English fumbles, got away with the bow towards Kennedy, and then his kick over club Norton and grabbed by Smith.
Yeah, you have to try and change the angle here, even if it pops up late. You cannot go back down the line where Tim English has set himself.
He does set it up. English is lurking. Bontempelli got back with a fist. Knocked into the back. Caulfield caught by Mansell. Handball smothered. Sonsey, a little sidestep. And he has scraped that through.
Well, they got away. It was a dangerous spoil by Bontempelli. If you can't get that ball over the line, you need that ball to go wide.
So Caulfield, he'd be very keen to impress here. That didn't get to Richards. Ralph Smith was able to gather, and then Taranto was roaring for it and now receives it. His eyes dart around. He's got Trainer screaming for it on his own in the pocket.
Quite often in this position, you need to look like you're going for a shot at goal to try and put the opposition to sleep. So one might pop up late. If not, Taranto need to take it upon himself and kick it.
A few words of wisdom given to Tom Brown there on the boundary. As Taranto comes in from right on the chalk. Distance is not going to be an issue, or is it? Lynch right on the line.
Rory Lott's got his hands in the air. Usually expect a ruckman to come over and assist in the air in that particular part. Good mark by Lynch.
So Lynch, from close range, bangs it through for their second. And a little ray of light to kick off the second half.
Yeah, it's really important for Richmond to get some scoreboard reward to maintain the effort that I think has been relatively consistent, although not as effective in that second quarter. The fact that they were able to turn the ball over in the front half a couple of times here, an errant kick from Caulfield initially, and then that little change angle there was excellent off the outside of the boot by Ralph Smith. Taranto thought he had the distance in him. Contested marks worth their weight in goal. Was probably going through. He'd worked Rory Lobb off the contest. It was going through regardless, but got to take that mark, not knowing exactly where you sit. And Tom Lynch is on the scoreboard as well.
Kind of like Rory Lobb's disappointment. He dominated the game, but he doesn't want anything against his name. Hopper, Taranto, Nankervis, senior players starting to rise and give them something. Ross, Trainer runs shotgun for him. Little chip kick. Nice second move by Hopper. Got some treatment from Marcus Bontempelli, but all fair in love and war.
Careful, Tom Lynch, not to give away a free kick.
Little chip. Dale stands in the hole. Stood there in front of fallen Trainer, and he couldn't collect it. Shows his disappointment as well. So some little things at least going Richmond's way to start this second half.
All you need is field position and give yourself some inside 50s. If not, get a stoppage like they have and get to work.
Spent more time in their forward 50 than the Dogs this quarter. Richards hacks it out. Banks overruns it. Ross gathers. Takes on his man. And then darts one. Sonzi. Clever play.
It's almost out of play when he kicked it.
It's a great kick if you had seen Sonzi as an option.
Initially he was thinking, all right, I'll show that I'm going to go somewhere else to buy myself some options, and then he had no options. It could have been out of bounds, but it wasn't called, Dwayne, so it doesn't matter. He's been able to hit up a teammate in a scoring position.
Alaska Pilot, any landing's a good landing. And Sonzi marking it inside 50. Fortuitous maybe, and offline and Williams.
I might have to unpack that with you. Call, Matty. There can be some really bad ones coming.
Right. Yeah, just got to hope your wheels are down for starters. Lob, short. Williams. Ultra reliable. Rarely ever misses. Lob. Boston. And Amos has sent it back to a dangerous zone. Heads to Sonsi. He's had a few opportunities. Might need to pass this off. Too far out to score. Says let's calm it down, boys. He sits it up in hope. Fall is under it in big English. Talks the talk.
Yeah, it's an important mark. I think the thing that Tigers have done really well this quarter is defensively, and they haven't allowed the Dogs to transition the ball from end to end, which was a problem in the second quarter.
Dale working in concert with Liberatore. Kick to the wing, Darcy. Richards, Norton, McNeil. And then all on his own is Vandermeer in isolation, and then a little chip. West has it.
And that's a little bit, they've committed so many numbers to turn the ball over in the front half that eventually the Dogs, when they got through that pressure, were going to squeeze out the back.
He's already kicked one today, along with those 8 touches. That's the angle he's got to work with. Riley West. And he rattles the woodwork.
Prior to that one, 5 times the Dogs D50, and they didn't transition the ball inside their own 50, which has been a real strength of theirs. They usually get those ones, West. He's become a real sharpshooter in front of goal.
Boston. English stalking this again. Thor edged him out. Lobb got there with the fist, knocked into the front. Western Bulldogs, we've said, will be inside the 8 if they win this game. Short week. They've got Sydney at the SCG next week. Trelaw with that calf tightness might not be available. Sanders was a late withdrawal due to illness in this one for the Dogs. Richards couldn't grab it. Sonsi does. Caught a little high. Caught a lot high. And here he comes. It looks like Jasper Alger is about to be ejected from Gippsland and Oakley and Warrigal for his first run on AFL footy.
He'll be chomping at the bit, wouldn't he? And there he is. And an exciting time for a young man as Tyler Sonsi trots off. The family can't wait to see the young man out there. In the meantime, Lynch has taken a one-hander. And he is out there now. Jasper Alger met by 3 or 4 of his teammates. Ruffle of the hair. Welcome to the big league, son.
I don't think Sonsi's been told that he's being subbed off yet. He's still sitting in the front row of the bench. Oh no, he's just been told.
So Lynch, this kick a little bit more complicated. Slight angle, but from 35 metres out. And started left and was never going to come around.
Their set shots haven't even looked like going through.
And forget about the scoreboard, lads, but these are the exciting times for Richmond supporters. The young players showing us what they're made of.
Yeah, I'm thinking, and sometimes it does come down just to win a quarter or give yourself an opportunity to play well in a quarter. As the Dogs go again.
Bontempelli in the colours direction. Buku, couple of really good things since he was subbed on. And then Richards from 50 metres out looked for Norton. He was in the wrong spot. Miller had him covered.
Miller heads out wide to McIntosh. Got a climb bounce. English corrals him. Wants off the impossible kick. Turns it over. Caulfield. Bramble. Got a few threats forward. Norton's forward. English forward. Karmas forward to the Karmas direction, and Norton were both there. I forgot to mention Bontempelli. He's there as well. First touch there for Alger. He did well. Got a little handball out. First touch in AFL footy. Lobby coming back. Williams took a half netball step and then holds it up as Floston gets up.
It looks more Floston.
Now they're going to stop the play here.
So Nick Floston took a long time to get back to his feet.
Oh, yeah.
The trainer was inside forward 50, just seeing if he was okay, so that's why play has been stopped.
And a head injury, they normally stop.
Yep.
Head injury.
Knee to the head.
So, umpire with the right call there. So, Williams, who initially pummeled it in towards full forward, he does exactly the same thing. Draws a crowd. There's hundreds of them there. No mark out the back. Bontempelli, McNeil, West, and they raffle it. And eventually it trundles out.
Which is now Norton looks sore. Norton is one of those players that needs to try and get himself into the game. You see there that the injury to Nick Floston, but Norton only the 4 disposals so far this game, 1 mark, and yet to hit the scoreboard.
Sims in the ruck with English, came out to Hines, couldn't control it, grabs Ross, came out to Taranto, flicked it wider. Smith found himself in the phone booth, snap round the corner, Dogs have the numbers, and then again Lobb with another killing fist.
It's an easy spoil in the end for Rory Lobb. Just wonder what you do with Norton. Just to try and get him into the game. There's been plenty of opportunities forward of the ball.
Luke Beveridge has had plenty of advice about putting him back. Banks, Frainer inside to Smith. Campbell, nice look. Green fed it back out, he missed Hopper. It goes back and made amends with a bad handball. Smith with the flick, didn't quite work. Dogs with plenty around it. Harm stripped. Campbell tries to attack it. Kennedy against the grain. He dropped that.
It was just an accumulation of pressure, wasn't it, by Richmond? Stayed inside the contest. Eventually got the reward.
Lob in front, Lynch behind, Lob. He's a cold hero at the moment, Roy Lob. How wide did Dolan? Had a couple of beats them both. Looks at the Vandermeer. Dogs fans roaring again. Vandermeer with some room to move. Ugly kick, the ball work. Here's Norton on cue. Gets it back. Dropped it, fumbled it just when he was in the van. Bowler a bounce. End-to-end stuff. Turns it over. Caulfield. Waste no time. Weber. Spence it long. English.
There was options everywhere.
Yeah, the Dogs' shape is excellent, and Richmond just fed into that with a couple of poor decisions. Caulfield's been excellent aerially, coming forward and intercepting, and this is a flip side of what we saw earlier with English out the back of Karmas at the front and just getting that kick over the top.
So Darcy spent a big portion of this third term on the bench. English getting a run to push forward. Magnificent.
I get the conversation about Norton. I think his work rate's been pretty good. The second quarter, if we ever look at the second quarter, if you've got a player like Bolter who's dropping off a player like Sam Darcy, it doesn't really matter how well you're playing, because when those options are as available as they are to the ball carrier, you're going to hit that target, and that's why Sam Darcy was targeted more often than not. I think Norton has flown at everything. He had a couple of fumbles then, but it's the mix of all of those targets that I think allows a Sam Darcy to be dangerous, or for a Riley West to pop up at times. So I think Norton is important, his aerial pressure and contest. It's a good mix for the Dogs. If you take him out of there, it makes them worse in front of the ball.
Just less than 7 left in the third term. Darcy in the ruck this time. Kennedy gets a free kick. So Kennedy blazing through the centre circles, penetrating ball. Cummins waits at the back, claiming it. Bolter, it's a mark. Bolter presses on quickly. He's got Ross. Caulfield with the relatively late spoil.
He made him earn it.
So Ross calls for a bit of action further afield. Sims works his way to the front. Lobbs worked him in. Bobbles around. Kennedy first there with McIntosh. And it was a free kick again to Kennedy. So receives the free kick, the drive by to West, and then Vandermeer. Now Kammer sets himself here, watches the ball, couldn't quite mark it. Bolter, handball over the top, too hot for Trainer. Liberatore gathers instead. Then to Frazier, little fend off, tries to fend off again, throws it on the boot. There's Dogs everywhere. It's like a kennel. McNeil marks it.
They were competing over the same bone there for a little while. Frazier just his ability, once again, better tackle. It's the little basics in the game that make all the difference between the class players and the players that have a real dip. And I mean that's just effort, drive the legs, strong in the body, and knowing how to move the space. And then okay, well I'm going to get caught here. I'm going to put on the boot.
Looking for his second, directly in front, and makes no mistake. For the Dogs, 13th.
And then if you're gonna have an indiscriminate kick, you put it to a really dangerous position. So the outside of the 20 metres, and either McNeil or West were going to raffle that. they're a little bit like twins, those two, when you put them up next to one another. If you don't know the number itself, they're actually similar size, stature, intensity, and they go to work really well. That's a bit of that forward mix. You know, the different dynamic of the players in there seems to help them hit the scoreboard really heavily.
Been a good survivor as well, Lockie McNeil. Nominated for the 2019 draft, but no one wanted him. Went back to being a forklift driver and playing in the Sandford. Was delisted and relisted a couple of years ago by the Dogs. And now, the way they're playing, they might be finals bound. Darcy's still in the ruck. I'm not sure about taking your Ferrari off-road like this, but they seem to like giving him a run in the ruck. Lob, front spot, off hands. Campbell kind of caught high. Richmond fans thought it was more than kind of. Bramble, speaking of survivors, to McNeil, looks inside. The 1-2, squeeze kick down the corridor. The hunt for it. Smith, stripped, gone. And the Dogs are out the front. Play on advantage. McNeil goes in, gets the Bogs having some sort of afternoon. Unselfish West.
It's just a great kick.
Great lead too. He knew.
He waited.
Well, you know when you're in front of Marcus Bontempelli, when he's got a little bit of time and space, just work really hard to give him just to go to the space that you reckon is easiest to hit.
Yeah.
In the end, the kick draws West to the space that was easiest to hit.
Marcus Bontempelli has begun contract negotiations in splendid form, and West slots through another. He's got a couple. And there he is. The big number 4, Marcus Bontempelli, putting on some sort of show. 25 possessions, and his meter's still running.
Yeah, I mean, he was involved at half-back as well. You can just see there near the goalpost, continues to run. Just held it a little bit longer, allowed West to go on his second lead and really turn Broad around. So there the kicks inside forward 50. That's the player that you want the ball in his hands. He would have been unhappy last week with a 15-game disposal, so he is now inching closer to 30 disposals for this game.
Transferred to being a small forward last year. Riley West. English down to Richards, who's having a pretty good afternoon himself. That's slightly off the side of the boot. Gives McIntosh half a squeak. Hines left it behind. Loston over the top to McIntosh. Hines will harass him. Got him. Got rid of it legally. Floston, quick hands. Hopper has to do a ringa-rosy. And then speared it to Dan Curvis, true centre wing. Couple of tigers here. Campbell got a handball to it. Sims. Mansell runs into a brick wall and holding the football.
Yeah, well done by Libba. He can just continue to track the ball and be in a position to pressure.
Never been All-Australian, Tom Liberatore, but he's making a case again this year. English. Is that the required, or is it cut off anyway by Green? Spears it, hoping for Lynch, and he got there.
Still good closing speed by Rory Lobb. You'd think Lynch would have this distance covered.
Dying stages of the third term. Trying to make the score a little more respectable. The Tigers began the day 17th. Finished the day second last, win, lose or draw. And they want to find it out. Lynch from outside the arc. Got under that a little. Got under that a lot. English, Bontempelli, they're all there. Great from Liberatore, front and square. To Kennedy. To Buku. And here they go again.
They're on through the middle of the ground.
He holds it up.
Didn't want to take it.
Third touch since being subbed on Camus. O'Donnell. Out to Lobb. Crowd in the wing loving his work this afternoon. To Harms. Fraser. They keep running. Bramble's running for it. He goes inboard. Kick ducked into Kennedy. Running for him, Harms. Too far out to score. Mansell pressures him, got it out to Bramble. Quick kick in the Darcy direction, off hands. Bontempelli and West there. West gathers. Kennedy hits the ball hard. They grab him. Got his boot to it. West. Darcy with a chance towards the top of the square. Did Vandermeer give a free kick away? Yes, he did.
Yeah, he was trying to bring the ball to ground at Bontempelli, who was in front, and in fact gave away a free kick.
So it's Banks with the free kick. And Banks,
Not too many Richmond players running for the ball.
it's in the Hopper direction that overcooked it. Ralph Smith was there, and it's going to be a free kick. And it's going to the Dogs this time. So McNeil with 2 goals this afternoon, less than a minute to play in the third term, goes short to Liberatore and then goes corridor to Williams.
He's working around the key really for the last roll of the dice, and Bramble wanders inside 50. They need a safe footed here, Richmond. 15 goals to 2.
It might be Wolf. As they keep coming, the Dogs, they're that was just really great shape. The Richmond players had collapsed, and this is once again that offense that, you know, what are your opposition giving you? Okay, they've given us the lateral, we'll go again. They haven't come out at us, so we'll go out wide to the fat side to Bramble. Now that could have been 20 metres further out if a Richmond player had it pressed up, but he hadn't. So the kick drew him into the 50, into space, and then he just took the opportunity to finish.
They thought through it well, didn't they?
Yep.
They weren't enticed to go long to the top of the goal square to their key forwards. They just realised where the weakness was in the Richmond defence.
Played every game last year, Bramble, fighting for his footy life after coming from the Hawks. Ralph Smith, high ball towards Lynch, looking for a quick reply.
His third or fourth mark inside 50 this quarter alone. He's turned the tables on that contest with Rory Lobb, who was excellent in the first half. 4 marks this quarter, 3 contested, all inside forward 50.
As far as his accuracy is concerned, 1 goal 1. So on the siren, it's all about respectability on the scoreboard now. Lynch comes in, it's not a bad attempt, and it's there. So after the Dogs led by 56 at half-time, they go into the three-quarter time break, leading by 71. With Marcus Bontempelli with 2, Sam Darcy 3 and Riley West 2. Lockie McNeil 2, the main goal kickers on Sunday Ticket.
All right, three-quarter time here. 15-7, the Dogs 97, the Tigers 3-8-26. Tigers putting on 2 goals for the Doggies. 5 goals, 1. They're a little bit better in that third term, where the Tigers held the Dogs up until about halfway through that third term, and then the Dogs stepped up their game, their pressure again. But it's good to see Tom Lynch kicking a goal for the Tigers right after the siren. A little bit more respectable score there at 26 instead of 20. There we go. All right, let's pop on over. We had a few extra goal scorers. Let's go and see where the goal scorers are now. What's happening over there? Sam Darcy still leads away with 3 goals. Didn't add to his tally in that third term. Riley West with a couple, with Lachlan McNeil. The Bonk's got a couple also. Singles there, Richards, Booker Commerce, Cooper Hines, Tim English, Sam Davison, Lachlan Bramble. For the Tigers, Tom Lynch, there we go, the only mouldable, standing tall. A lot better and a good third term for Tom Lynch, kicking 2 goals. Steely Green, the other single for the Tigers. There we go, only 2 goal scorers for the Tigers. So let's have a look at the ball magnets. Of course, the Bont's on top, 25. Tom Liberatore, a nice third term there, up to 24 with a couple of clearances. Nick Bloston, there we go, on 22, best for the Tigers. I'm not sure whether We'll see Nick Bloston back on the ground. We'll have to keep an eye on that. He did cop a knee to the back of the head in the marking contest just after Richmond made their sub as well. So if he goes off with the concussion rule, they might be one down on the bench, but we'll see. There we go, 22. Tim Taranto next best for the Tigers on 19. There we go. All right, let's just roll down a little bit. So let's see where Sam Darcy's got to now. Sam Darcy up to 17. 9 kicks for 3 goals, 2 clearances, doing well. A little bit quieter in that third term. You know, he's quite capable of kicking a bag in this final. Let's see how he goes. Tim English, not too bad. Also in that third with 15, 22 hitouts, 2 clearances, kicking a goal, the big man. Well done. McIntosh, 14, working hard down back there for the Tigers. Seth Campbell on 14. Let's just roll down a little bit more as we go. Adam Treloar, I think he's, well, I'm not sure whether he's off the ground with a little bit of calf. There we go. We'll have to find out a bit more of that later on as well. He just had the 10. Who else we got there for everyone? Toby Nankervis, the big man for the Tigers. Just the 8 touches, 2 kicks, 6 handballs, 18 hitouts, 1 clearance for him. Noel Bolter, well, he's not having too good of a game today. Just the 8 touches, 6 and 2. Unlike him, normally he puts a few possessions on the board. There we go. And a few of the Tigers down the bottom. Tom Lynch hasn't had much of it. He's just had the 5 kicks, 1 handball. But he has kicked 2 goals, 1 and taken 5 nice grabs at the ball. All right. Here we go. Just want to have a look at the overall disposals of the team. And it's about plus 92, the Dogs. 46 to 30 inside 50. So the Tigers got it back a little bit in that term. Free kick still the same. 16 to 15, nothing much happening there. And the clearances, not a great deal in this, so the Tigers are holding up reasonably well. All right, let's get back down to the action. We're about to bounce the ball for the final quarter here, about a minute and a half out. Of course, it's big leaders, 71 points. Western Bulldogs up into 8th position now on the ladder, 133.6%. There is the live ladder for all the Western Bulldogs fans. There we go. Big smile on the dial. You're up into 8th position and looking prominent for the rest of the season. Hey, what? You're going to make a run for it. As I said, you're only a game outside the top 4. Wow, and I think that was, someone said you play Sydney next week. I'd expect the Doggies to win that game and climb the ladder even further. All right, let's head back down to the ground, and they'll take us into the final quarter, whereas the Dogs by 71 points.
Rolls Royce, he's certainly back firing. He's been everywhere. I've loved his work rate to not only get back into defence and help. He's certainly contributed to the scoreboard. They've had 10 different goal scorers, the Western Bulldogs, so everyone has been involved. His kicking today has been a real feature. Before his last missed kick, he was going at 100%, so he had 11 kicks at 100% prior to that one. But he's just everywhere. I think if you're a budding young midfielder, come here and watch Marcus Bontempelli work. He just works contest to contest, makes really good decisions. A couple of his inside 50s, he's drawn the player to a position where he wants him to go. So he's been outstanding after what was a quiet week last week. I think Liberatore's been really good. Ed Richards has been really good. And they've still got a quarter of football to go. Look at that kick there to Riley West. Brilliant to see.
We've seen that quarter, 13 inside 50s each. The clearances, the contested balls relatively even. What the Dogs had was uncontested marks, took 35 uncontested marks for 13, so they controlled their ball use and split Richmond's defence to be able to hit the scoreboard heavier.
So after 56 at half-time, 71 points at three-quarter time as we commence the last quarter. Bontempelli with the first touch. English, Kennedy. Long ball to the top of the square. It's that man again. It's that man again.
It's the one thing you get from a centre bounce is 6'6". So when you get a clearance like that, with a little bit of speed on it, the other defenders don't have time to come over and impact in the air. There's a genuine one-on-one win. Good strength. Not much Bolter could do.
So, looking for number 4, Sam Darcy. And straight and true. So 10 individual goal kickers for the Western Bulldogs. And 2 players, Matthew Kennedy and also Aaron Norton, who contributed 5 goals against St Kilda last week, haven't kicked one today.
Mum and Dad there, Jack and Luke, just watching on with one of their kids going about his business. That must be an enjoyable afternoon for them. But one of the players that's been sneaky good today has been Matty Kennedy. He's got more midfield time than most of the games that he's played this year, quite often starting as a high half forward and then getting involved sort of through the midfield as a high half forward. But he's been starting as a legitimate mid for most of today. 21 touches, 6 tackles to lead all comers for the Bulldogs and 5 inside 50. He's been very strong. Couldn't get a midfield minutes at Carlton, but he's getting them here.
Yeah, he's having a great afternoon, and here he's almost getting it on cue. English floats it up to half forward. Was lost and held, he was. Advantage is played. Blasted out wide in front of Thorn. Williams, Fall, boundary line. And mentioned Williams, ultra consistent, missed just 4 games in 5 seasons, doing the job again. I know we're only taking it 1 game at a time, but there's 2 younger Darcy brothers as well that Sam's got that could join him at the Western Oval at some stage. That'd be handy if they were all as good as Sam or Dad or Grandpa. It was pretty good.
Even half as good, they'd be happy.
Yeah.
Those little spurts he has in the ruck, boys, what would be the idea behind that?
I like the fact that he's not saved or in some way sheltered from that. It's a responsibility for a tall forward at some stages to go into that second ruck role. I think it frees them up as well. Such a creative player when he's through the midfield.
Loston back on the ground, kick inside 50 to Campbell. He's a real pocket rocket, is Seth Campbell. 2 goals last week, or at least their match previously against the Swans 2 weeks ago. Of course, having the bye last week, they only kicked the 4 and he kicked 2 of them.
Digressing, I do understand the concern about an injury to Sam Darcy, but if you're concerned about injury, you wouldn't play football. It's going to happen from time to time. But if you don't do it, you don't get robust and resilient, and I think he is, and he will be.
So Campbell's kick is a beauty, not deviating one little bit for their 4th goal of the afternoon.
I think it also, just on the Sam Darcy one, keeps you interested. You know, sometimes, and yes, the Dogs are going well, but at some point they might not be. So you can bring yourself up into the contest. You get involved. You're around different people. So it allows you to be flexible, and also it doesn't allow your direct opponent, in this instance Noel Bolter, to have the set on you for the whole game. Bolter now moving over to Norton, and Darcy going to the ruck. So as we see there, Seth Campbell's club ranks, so number 1 for goals, number 2 for goal assists, number 1 for score involvement. So he's going to be a good long-term player for this club.
And number 1 this year for goal celebrations with that flip after the first round win over Carlton. Long bomb, Norton in the spot, Carlton's in the back, time for Deckledo. Behind post on the full.
It's exciting.
Still a celebration of the year, Dwayne.
The flip?
Yep.
Yeah.
Hard to beat.
You're not. There's been a few. Depends on whether you call Jack Ginnivan's showing of the ball a celebration before he kicked it.
So Miller's kick to the congestion. Fall. He's plucked that one out. Dogs beat Richmond by 115 points back in 2006. Was their biggest win against this opponent, as Bontempelli, they've even just touched him on the box there for a moment.
Yeah, Rory Lobb held Tom Lynch out.
Kick to centre half forward. Kennedy at the back. Broad's claiming it, and it's going to be Paven. So happy to get Bolter into the action, and then wider out to Miller, and now Floston. A few words with the doctor late in that third term, just making sure he knew what day it was. And he kicks it towards McIntosh, chopped off by Richards.
Just haven't been able to get any speed on the ball, Richmond. They've been denied the corridor. The Dogs have defended that part of the ground really well, and just haven't allowed them to include handball receives, run and carry in their game.
Luke Beveridge, 11th season at the helm, would be pretty happy with the way it's unfolding. Richards got a little high. Got a lot high.
Stand.
Williams switches on. Lob can go. No one comes at him, but he's got a paddock. Just floats it out wide. Puts it over the head of Davidson. Have to go back and get it. Gives it to Lever, who's been everywhere. Hope past the Bramble. They're having some fun, the Dogs. Inside to Richards or Dale. Take your pick. Dale says, I'll have it, I'll give it to you. Oh, God! Just crept up behind him, did fall. He was his fall guy. Quick kick inside to Toronto. Chips it further to Mansell. They could get one against the grain. McIntosh, who wasted a couple of chances in the opening quarter, has to take the responsibility, surely.
Ed Richards spoke about how they're just sharing the ball with each other. That one with Bailey Dale, that was pretty much a hospital handball. There wasn't a lot of talk from it either. One of the few opportunities that the Tigers have been able to collar the Dogs.
Goes for the snap, kick, and works it to perfection. Little pat on the head.
He had a couple of snaps early, didn't he? But
He did.
finally got one.
Too sure why he's waiting for the 30-second clock to get to 3 to then start. They don't really need to suck time out of the clock.
Well, it might be to take a few deepies and have him in the best physical shape that he can to be able to finish.
And let your defence get a breather, given that they've been under the pump set up.
And he finished that hospital pass on Richards, having to take the fall.
And maybe, because he hasn't been kicking straight, he thought I better let him to set up for a behind, just in case I do miss.
A little bit more camera time there.
It's a good-looking headband look, isn't it? The little, obviously for sweat, not to get the hair out of his eyes, but he's got a unique look going.
Darcy Nankervis scrap for it. Darcy had a fair bit of it. Just volleyballed it forward only as far as Banks. Off lost and fumbles. Bontempelli's on the premises, so too Norton. He can't quite pick it up, and then high one on Vlosten.
They just haven't been able to get involved in the game. Aaron Norton, I mean, there's been so many opportunities forward of the ball. On the back of the Dogs' ball movement, McIntosh waits and grasps it with one hand. Read it really well. He's got a man further afield in Mansell. He's got some separation from Bramble. And then kicks it long and strong to Lynch. Couldn't quite. Pinched by Lobb. He's manhandled out towards Davidson. Off the deck. That's effective enough. Only trundles out to Broad. Broad sends it back from where it came. Fall waits for it. Got his right hand to it, but that was all. Good chase by Vandermeer on the open side.
Good to see the Tigers fighting us out as well. Two Richmond fans in the house. The former coach said they don't know where this place is. They don't like coming here, but a few have turned up today. They're going to see their team play this last quarter out. Lynch to have a shot. Some direction.
Can be a challenging period for a team that's this far ahead when the opposition have all the spurt. You've just got to understand that this is going to happen for periods of this last quarter. Just make sure you play the game out as best you can.
So goals in the 4-goal game the Tigers had last game against the Swans. Sneaks it in for his third here.
beaten in that direct contest with Rory Lobb for the majority of the first half. Obviously a little bit more supply since half-time. And it doesn't hurt to get those errant free kicks that come here and there. Contested marks in the third quarter had 3 shots on goal to be able to, or 4 shots on goal to convert twice, and then that one just snuck in. So that's not a bad return.
I think these will be the little wins that Adam Uze will be looking at. Just win the last quarter. That's all he'll be asking his team to do.
20 away from 500 goals in his career, Tom Lynch. Kicking 18 this year.
The senior players have been excellent. I mean, Lynch when he's fit. I think McIntosh and Nankervis have been the guys that have allowed the young players to develop around them, lost them behind the ball. Just, Taranto and Hopper consistent through the middle. They've given the spine for the youth to develop from.
So Taranto's kick, off hands Dale, the crumbing Hines, and then West in isolation, steaming through the middle. Kick inside 50, set up perfectly for Norton. He was tackled, then gave it to Bontempelli, who slid through and said, "Thank you very much, I'll kick number 3." That is class.
Well, Norton actually did really well to get that ball to Bontempelli, being slung in the tackle. But from Bontempelli to spread from the midfield and go forward and provide an option. You see here this right from half back, take it to the middle of the ground, handball receive, kick across the body from West. But I thought this was great by Aaron Norton, just to find Bontempelli.
It's the 18th turnover they've got in their defensive mid, and it's the 5th goal that they've kicked from that score source. So they've kicked 7 goals from behind centre from turnover, 7-2 in total. They've just been ruthless. When they get the turnover in that part of the ground, their ability to chain up with hands or spread the ground and make it big and then finish going inside 50 has been excellent.
English against Sims. Hopper got a kick away to half forward, and he's held his own. Bramble more than held his own. He's got the debutant on him at the moment, Alger, so tough task for him. Vandermeer knocked it to Cummins. To Vandermeer, chips it to Norton. That's the kind of day he's having. Just when he thought he was going to have a shot, taken off him on the full.
Boston. Bolter. 10th disposal for Noah. Real high ball, that one. Caulfield from nowhere tried to mark it. McIntosh tries to fall over it. Just Fossick's around. Real stacks on. Aaron Norton on screen. Goalless this afternoon. It's the young man, Steely Green. English tries to stop the rock with a big fist, and then West takes on 1 or 2, scrambles a kick out of the congestion. Broad gathers well, quick fire handball to Floston, back to Brown, and then a man leading out is Sims.
It's a little thing, that little pump fake by Boston just buys him an extra step or 2 to be able to make the next best decision.
Sims with 3 big tools for full to beat. Lynch, little back pedal was nice. Chip inside him and better to Ross.
There's a nice composed kick going inside forward 50. We've got to go looking for a hand pass. But Rory Lobb got committed to the contest. Didn't blaze away at the back, Tom Lynch.
Jack Ross just 7 games last year with the foot fracture, but all 14 games this season. Struck that pretty well. He gets himself a consolation prize.
Yeah, you want to see the game finished off as best you can if you're a Tigers supporter. Their first quarter was good, outclassed in the second quarter. Third has looked okay, but they kicked 3 goals for three-quarter time. They kicked 4 goals in this last quarter. So to be able to hit the scoreboard and get some form of reward for your effort, because I don't think it's been an effort issue. It's just been a class issue. It's when expectations are low, you're not going to be disappointed. And clearly, the Richmond fans want the scoreboard to look different and to look differently as they go along. But kicking 4 last quarter goals to this point at least gives them something to sink their teeth into.
Oh, but you mentioned taking a quarter is an ambition at this stage with the young blood that they have, and they lead 4 goals to 2 in this final term as Kennedy was taken off at Fraser off the deck, picked up by Davidson, who's done some good things. Quick fire handball to English, and then Kennedy just cut off momentarily by McIntosh, but is still pushing forward. Whistle on the play. Dale's kick towards Camus. It's coming back. So Kennedy, 2 goals against St Kilda last week. Oh, then was heading back in the Camus direction, but the problem was Camus wasn't there. Broad was the last man standing. Heads to Ross. And then a short one to Hopper. Only went about 4 metres. And Hopper just has to trundle it forward to Taranto. They get away with it pretty well. Look away handball. Ross back towards Taranto. Slips over. Ross gathers with the one hand, then too slow. Bramble grabbed him.
A little bit of percentage slipping away from the Dogs. They are on track to have the 3rd best percentage in the AFL at the end of this game. If things keep going as they were at three-quarter time, I'll be in the 8 tonight. 3rd or 4th best percentage. They've got some scoring power. It's been a different team to watch. Sam Darcy back in after missing much of this season through injury. Norton comes hard. Lob in the middle. Davidson can't keep it alive.
Just an update from ground level, guys. Adam Treloar has only just emerged onto the bench after, of course, in that second quarter he was subbed out of the game with calf tightness. It was quite a long time to be away from the bench and away from the group. I imagine he's fairly deflated given his history of soft tissue injuries.
Thanks, Sarah. Bad news there for Adam Treloar and his family. That's a bad one.
Kennedy, left boot in the Darcy direction. Bolter wrestled his way to the front. Out the back it goes. Brown and Camus see it over.
Analysing the percentage as well, they're easily the heaviest scoring team in the competition, given the average or aggregate score. They're about 6 or 7 for defence. So the offence looks excellent, and the defence just keeps getting better and better. So the Dogs are in great shape when you look at that percentage, despite the win-loss, which will be 8-6 after this game.
So a couple of thumping victories. They have Sydney next week, but the question mark still posed. They haven't beaten a team above them. GWS initially was the only team they had above them that they'd beaten through the year. Still a long way to go, though.
What they are doing is they're putting themselves in good shape to be able to answer those questions when they come.
English with the free kick.
Thank you.
He's kicked one. As we mentioned earlier, 10 individual goal kickers for the Dogs. He just props it up. Norton! Norton looking to be the 11th individual goal kicker.
I like the kick. It was a little dart, so I got there quick. You see there, comes from behind Bolter. Good body position. Easy mark in the end.
Dogs leading goal kicker in 2023 comes in. Now joins the list. Joins the goal kicking party this afternoon.
The defensive craft of Noel Bolter is it's an interesting study, isn't it? seems to be a player who gets very ball focused, which I think is great for an intercept defender at times. But when you, against the weight of territory and entries that the Tigers are under, you like the positioning here, like just how free Norton is, and he's able to make a run at the ball. He's even got sight of where his defender is, so he can actually make that play.
It seems like once you can create initial separation from him, he doesn't then re-engage.
He's a good defender up the ground and in transition through the middle of the field because of his athleticism. He's been exposed in the D50 this afternoon.
Richards, English, number 208, knew the traffic was coming. Harms, Richards, Bond and Pelly. Hartree in motion at Bond. To Norton or Karmas. Karmas almost there for the crumb. He is there for the crumb. To Kennedy. To Norton. Missed it, but good to see him getting a couple of touches and finishing strongly. 3 goals against the Saints last game from just 8 possessions. Is that more possessions, but less goals today?
So Banks, long kick, lob, that new strong fist. Prestia overran it, and then Bontempelli sends it back towards Norton, and the tall timber of Darcy.
Well, once again, it was a kick that got there quickly. And the forwards never take their eyes off the ball. Great extraction. Kicks it to the hot spot. And at that point in time, it was Miller that had front position.
So Sam Darcy comes in directly in front, puts it into the second row. And that's 5-2 for the afternoon.
Yeah, 5-2, 9 score involvements. He's taken 8 marks. 3 of those have been contested. He's a real headache for oppositions inside that 450. And Bontempelli has had some sort of game as well.
It looked too easy, didn't it? Sort of picking the ball up and backing out of that contest, but the good players make the difficult look ridiculously easy, and he definitely does that.
And you mentioned the Dogs haven't beaten anyone above them, or they won't be able to beat anyone above them the next 2 weeks either. They've got Sydney at the SCG, and then North Melbourne here at Marvel. So they might just keep climbing the ladder and having less teams above them to be able to beat Frazier. He deserves one. But he doesn't get himself one. The watermelon man, that's his secret. Slice of watermelon a day.
Dogs were waxing lyrical about the Bond. His game rating is 31.4, which is the 10th highest game by a Bulldog in history. So still with 6 minutes to do something about that and go further up.
And to clarify that, they have beaten GWS, who've held on to that 7th spot on the live ladder. The top 6 is now the interest point for the Dogs. Here's Taranto. Back he goes to Bolter. Kick into the middle. Smith showed a little bit of courage there and got out to McIntosh. So things opening up in junk time as Miller pierces one to Ross. Ross offloads. Banks towards Nankervis, caught at the back. The tall timber of English at the front. Elgar with the disposal. McIntosh is centering hack, looking for Prestia. Richards dropped the mark. Prestia goes backwards. Quick hands to Hopper. Hopper off a standing start. It's going to be online. Has it got the trip? I reckon it did. Goal to the Tigers. They've had a good last quarter.
Rory not pleading his case there because he's claiming that it was a ball that was able to be marked, but he was pushed out of the marking contest by a guy who wasn't trying to mark it.
Yeah. I think we know you can do pretty much touch whatever you want on the goal line, and the umpires won't pay a free kick. As we get another look at it here, both wrestling. But you're right, the 5-goal fourth term will please Adam Uze in terms of finishing the game.
Well done.
Not too sure there's a free kick there.
English with a slap down. Little tap away by Vlosten, but straight to Richards. Frazier lurking at half forward. Against the grain, looks inside. He's got a few options. Who does he want? English to do. He is a big weapon to have, Tim English. He went from All-Australian in 2023 to missing the top 10, the Dogs' best and fairest last year. The good Tim English just changes this whole team. And you're getting good Tim English at the moment. This for goal number 20 for the Dogs. English making a statement. The Dogs making a statement.
Yeah, it's a really clever tactic, I think. Most ruckmen, when their opposing ruckman goes deep inside your forward 50, you go down and try and equalise. What Tim English does is he hangs around the 30 to 40 metre mark, hoping that whoever gets the ball can see him. On that occasion, it was Dan Curvis that spread really deep inside the defensive 50, and Tim English was a little bit more shallow and became an option. Good finish.
So at the moment, boys, they're reliably told this is the Dogs' 5th win over 71 or more if it was to stay like this for the season. So one of that percentage is ticking pretty high. Frazier tries to socker it to himself, and then McNeil was hit hard, and that's going to cause a reaction.
The size difference.
Yeah, he led with his head, didn't he? But he was still trying to work out which way the ball was going to bounce and which foot he was going to put forward to turn his hip into it, McNeil.
Trying to still with McNeil after he disposed of the football. Davidson to Hines.
Doesn't look very similar to the Durham Chera one in slow-mo and review.
Long high ball from Hines. Darcy! Couldn't quite chest that one. Brown grabbed it. He's taken in a two-man tackle. Kennedy and West all over him, and a ball up.
Looks like he's got a stinger down the left shoulder. Might have got it, sort of glanced him up the top through his neck, shoulder region.
Montempelli back to Davidson, a little two-man game between the pair of them there. Carlos at the back, Norton at the front. English, Norton, got some weaponry. Darcy jumps in. Rouse Smith through the traffic. Prestia, McIntosh, Banks. Harms. Back to the bomb. Back to the hot spot. Thumped away from Darcy. Brilliant palm down to Hines.
What a great take. It's clean.
He's having some fun as well in game 5.
Yeah, that was, Bontempelli really clean half to Bontempelli and then into the hot spot. It's a great spoil. Sam Darcy looked like he was on it again, but Hines' clean hands here. That scoops below the knees, and then the finish. That's excellent. Really good skill.
And the celebration. Act like you've done it before.
Yeah, it's no fuss, is it?
Yeah.
As we see there, the Dan Curvis McNeil clash.
Yeah, it doesn't look like the Durham one. There's obviously more body involved in it, but Curvis. Will he have anything to answer on that?
I don't think so.
He might have just braced for contact with his left arm there a little bit.
Out to 79 points in front of over 38,000 here today. Taranto's wobbly ball to Holmes. Davidson has had a good afternoon. 26 disposals, Davidson. West. Richards keeps on running. And at the back, Hines. He's loving it out there. Out to Bontempelli. Bontempelli over the left boots. Would have been too good to be true. Out of bounds on the full.
He's got a right to do it. Just a little heat check from the bottom, position 35. See how hot I really am. Missed some games this year. He's finished second in the Brownlows twice, Marcus Bontempelli. He's going to be hunting some votes the way he's going. The last part of the season, chip kick to Bolter. Blasted 65, gets it long through the hands of Thor. English getting back to lend a hand. Got a little one high. 135 to 56. And not many Bulldog fans have left their seat. They're ready to roar at the conclusion of this one. Switch around, lob. Big round of applause for Rory. The roar for Rory to Kennedy. No free and Dolan stripped. Ball in.
Thank you.
38,280 under the lid on a Sunday afternoon. And Curvis just nudged English over. Fraser got a hand to it. Bontempelli fighting to the bitter end. Wobbles out to English on hands and knees. It's a long way down. Harms grabbed by two. Got a kick away somehow. Caulfield, Liberatore, Williams off a step. West infringes. A free kick to Smith.
Just thought, why not?
Caleb Smith, his 12th game of AFL. Work in progress. Another of the young brigade for the Tigers. Long ball. Lob looking for possession, 22. Fell out the back. Caulfield taken high by Hopper. In fact, it was West taken high by Hopper in the latter stages.
They'll end up having over 100 uncontested possessions more than the Tigers.
18th touch for West. Bontempelli trying to use Floston as a bit of a step ladder. He is trying to see how spectacular he can be in the last 2 minutes with a real shot at goal from the boundary and then a little bit of air time. So the closing stages, a big win by the Western Bulldogs, 79 points. Rory Lombard's had a big day. He's the last man with the ball. And the Suns of the West are in the top 8. So for the Bulldogs, it went to script, a 79-point victory with Sham Darcy kicking 5-2, Marcus Bontempelli with his 3 goals, and also Riley West with 2. And that injury concern, though, for Adam Trelaw, dampering what's been a big win, and 2 big wins in a row here at Marvel Stadium with a thumping win over St Kilda the week before. Sydney beckons next week. Certainly working their way into top form, gentlemen.
Yeah, that was an encouraging performance for them. Dominant from start to finish, really.
Here's Sarah Jones.
Sam Darcy, 21 goals from the Western Bulldogs today. A powerhouse offensive performance. How much fun was that to be a forward today?
Yeah, it was. I think, we had a lot of inside 50s and, a lot of the guys worked really well on there and, it was a good all-round performance.
Third time in your career, you've scored 5 goals or more. How did you feel out there? Obviously, second up after the injury.
Yeah, not too bad. Feeling pretty good. Second game back from a long layoff, so just good to hopefully build some continuity now.
A lot of people are singing your praises at the moment about how well you're performing, but I'm sure there's areas you'd like to improve. Can you call us into what you're working on behind the scenes?
Yeah, of course. I think always looking to find extra areas of improvement. I think, AFL is such a demanding game. I think a lot of the four-quarter running power, all I'm trying to keep building fitness base and get stronger and work on your kicking, your marking craft. There's the extra areas and great races to the club that utilise to keep growing in all areas.
You would have grown up watching Marcus Bontempelli do his thing, and he certainly did it well today. How great is it to see the skipper bounce back after a quieter and unusually quiet game last week?
It's always watching the way he goes about it on and off the field. We're very lucky to have him in our club, and he's an absolute legend.
Disappointment for Adam Treloar getting subbed out of the game with a calf injury. How hard is that to see a teammate who's been through a lot, you would have seen him in the rehab room a lot, go down and not really know where it's at?
Yeah, it is. It's the sad part of the game that injuries and how unfortunate it can be. It's he's had quite a tough year in pre-season, so we've spoken before. I'm hoping maybe we get some good news with the scan and it's not too bad, but he's had a rough run and fingers crossed.
He goes all right, doesn't he, Marcus?
He goes better than all right, the big fella. Lucky to play with him. Lucky to have someone that big and that dominant at times up the ground. So he's still a young man, but he's impressing us every single week.
Speaking of impressive, your performance tonight was awesome. Last week, 14 disposals. It's very unlike how you normally perform. Do you take that personally to try and, make a statement the following week?
You definitely do. As an athlete, you want to feel like you're involved in the game as much as possible, and albeit not possession-wise last week, you still feel like you're contributing in the way you try and make games like that and matchups work. And obviously, we walked away from that game with a pretty sort of handy win and result. And so you just understand that's how it's going to be some weeks. Some games are going to be harder than others. You're going to have less influence, but the most important thing is to still be contributing in a selfless way, and that's what we try and preach to everyone. Even tonight, some guys will feel like they're not involved, they're not having maybe as much fun as others, but that's the game at times. Sometimes you feel like you're a mile in it, and sometimes it feels like you're a mile out, and you've just got to stay the course and keep coming back to the things in your game that help you get involved, but also make you a great team player. So that's football. Some weeks are up, some weeks are down.
What do you do as skipper to get round Adam Treloar after this latest setback?
Yeah, well, I don't know exactly the extent. Obviously, I know he come out of the game, and it's disappointing. It gets harder and harder probably as you get older to deal with those things, but we'll support him like we have every other time, and obviously that will be the case. It'll be sad for a week or so, but I'm pretty confident his ability to bounce back from those things, and he's shown it in the past. Yes, we prefer not to be dealing with it, but arms around and just, basically say hopefully there's still time in the rest of the year for him and us to keep going.
Well done tonight, an amazing performance. Go and enjoy it with the boys.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Have to get Jonesy some phone books next time she takes on Sam Darcy. That left arm will get very, very tired. He's a long way up, isn't he? But geez, exciting. And as I said earlier on, even a neutral AFL supporter will come through the turnstiles to see him play.
Oh, absolutely. He's exciting, isn't he? You can just see how when he's allowed to go highest point, and I say allowed because we thought that he was given a little bit more time and space than he needed, really, because he takes contested marks and pucks, and we saw that with his last one late in the last quarter for his 5th goal. But I think Jonesy needs the phone books for Bont as well. He's a big unit. He's not small.
He's a joy to watch, both Bontempelli and Sam Darcy.
They're stacked.
It's and to think even a player that sits out that I was in the lift with going down is Jones. That sort of 1-2 combo in defence. That player that's able to zone off, can't get himself into the squad.
Well, they've looked past him. So O'Donnell stands up and does the job really well. Caulfield was given an opportunity today. I thought his aerial play was really good. He was aggressive. His kicking is probably the area of his game that's average, that needs to come up. Some of that decision making, but young players have been given an opportunity. Carter starts us up, can go forward or back, and changes the dynamic when he goes forward. Bevo and his coaching staff have just made the right calls at the right times. They've let some of the old go to find the new at times. And more often than not, the decisions have been right over the last 18 months to put them in a position now where they can launch. And those questions about beating teams above them will come, should come. And they're trying to bulletproof their game to be able to contend.
Great to see Alan Trelaw there enjoying the moment. His team has a few mixed emotions. I'm sure that, as Marcus Bontempelli said, they're going to give him great support over the coming weeks or so. So an emphatic win as the Dogs are now in the top 8. They sit at 8th. Season 2025 with the Swans and North Melbourne to play in the next 2 weeks.
We spoke before the game. I mean, they did what they had to do, didn't they? And you want to keep building on your game, and have that rigour around playing the same way regardless of what the opposition do or do not throw at you from the other end, adjusting, but still being really true to the way you go about it. The Dogs are definitely showing that.
Bulldogs through and through on sing, Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs rock, yeah, yes. He's down in the boys, Bulldog bring the team and the mighty West.
All right, there we go, folks. It was the Bulldogs by 79 points, 21-9, 135. The Tigers 8-8-56. There we go. The Dogs are always going to climb into the top 8. It's how far they will go. As I said, I think they could end up a top 4 side and play off in the grand final with the Pies. That's my prediction, and I'm sticking with it. Well, at least the Tigers, folks, they're a little bit better in the second half. They put on 7 goals, 4 in the second half. The Doggies, though, 11 goals, 3. So it was a little bit more competitive. That being said, I think the Dogs took their foot off the pedal a little bit. In that final turn to about halfway through, and then they thought, no, we better step on the gas a little bit more. Percentage is what they were looking for out of today, and they did that. Just a shame. Adam Treloar had a little bit of a calf injury. We'll see how he goes with some scans, etc. like that. It'll be good to see him back out there, not too far away. So I think next week, folks, for these teams, the Western Bulldogs will take on the Sydney Swans up there at the SCG. And, of course, the Tigers playing at the MCG next Sunday. Well, they play the Adelaide Crows. That's no easy feat. It's going to be a tough game for the Tigers next week. But I would expect next week, even though it's at the SCG, I would expect the Western Bulldogs to go up there and win that game as well and cement themselves into the top 8. All right, let's just have a look at the goal scorers as they finish. And, of course, Sam Darcy ended up with a bag full. There we go. He kicked 5, and he was the highest out on the ground today. 5 goals, 2 for Sam Darcy. I tell you what, he is a gun. Tell you what, Mark, he's hard to stop. You just can't stop him. The Bont, he ended up with 3. Riley West with 2 with McNeil, Hines, and English. A lot of multiple goal scorers out there for the Doggies today. Singles were Richards, Norton, Karmas, Davidson and Bramble, and of course for the Tigers, Tom Lynch ended up reasonably good there with his 7 kicks, 3 goals, 1 for the Tigers. Jack Ross and McIntosh with Jacob Hopper and Steely Green. Seth Campbell kicking singles for the Tigers. Ball Magnuso, the Bont, well, there we go. He was 8 clear of anyone else, 36 touches, 18 kicks, 18 handballs, 3 marks, 2 tackles, 7 clearances, 3 goals for the Bont. How are they, how will the umpires work this out on Brownlow night? Him or Darcy kicked 5. That'll be interesting. Nick Floston ended up with 28, back on the ground. Good to see. Tim Taranto, 27 for the Tigers. And as we go on down, Sam Davis, Ned Richards, 27 for the Doggies. Libber, 26. Good to see him. Tim English, another good game from him, 24. 2 goals he kicked with 28 hit outs, 6 clearances. Gotta like that about the big man. There we go. McIntosh worked hard down back for the Tigers with 20. And Prestia with 19. Sam Darcy, as I said, 19 touches, 11 kicks, 2 clearances, 5 goals, 2. Got to be in the points there somewhere. Tell you what, it's hard because I think Darcy, the Bond, Libba, they're just all taking votes off themselves for Brownlow night. Will that open the door for someone else? Noah Bolter was well held today with just 12 touches. As I said, Trelaw went off with just 10 touches to the game. That is the player stats and how they fared. Just roll through the team stats. Well, it was 108 plus to the Bulldogs. Well in control of all parts of this game. There we go. About 70 odd more kicks, 40 more handballs. Inside 50s, the Dogs 59, just over season average. The Tigers 38, a little bit under season average. But look, they worked their way back into the game reasonably well, although the Dogs cruising at stages. Free kicks, 23-22, all tied up there, nothing much there. The hit-outs all tied up at 32 apiece. Dogs better in the clearances, plus 12 in the clearances, plus 3 centre clearances, plus 9 stoppage clearances. Contested possessions, well, not too bad. It's good to see. Well, it was plus 9 to the Dogs, but good to see Richmond only 9 behind there in contested possessions. Uncontested, it was pretty much plus 100 to the Doggies. Just controlled the game, and as you'll see with the marking stats as well, that's about plus 54 to the Dogs. Marks inside 50, 17-14, really high marking inside 50s by both teams, both going well above their season average. You would think the Tigers wouldn't get that many, but they actually did well with 14. The Bulldogs 17. Contested marks, well, it was the Tigers plus 1 there. Tackle count, well, as we were saying at three-quarter time or half time, Bulldogs only 40 tackles. That's because they had the ball most of the time. Richmond 56, slightly above season average. Good to see both teams tackling inside their forward 50 reasonably well. 10-9 there. We go jump across and have a look. Let me update this ladder. And there we go for both teams. Richmond still down there in 17th position after playing 14. They've had 3 wins, so they've done not too bad for the season when most commentators thought they may not win a game this year. I think it's going to be a long season for the Tigers, but as I said, all they have to do, don't worry about winning and losing, just worry about how you're playing the game. Get your structures, your processes right, get your team gelling, and just, doing the basics and getting a lot of that sorted out and right and ready for next season and the season after. The Western Bulldogs, however, this is big warning. This is danger, danger, danger to the top 8. Well, probably not, maybe not Collingwood. Collingwood certainly look to be above everyone else at the moment, but definitely Brisbane, Geelong, Adelaide, Hawthorn, Fremantle, Giants. This is a big warning coming from the Western Bulldogs in form. And of course, they got the 3rd best percentage in the competition, 133.4. They probably should have stretched that out a little bit more. Well, will that make a difference? It could make a little bit of a difference later on, because Adelaide Crows, who are sitting there in 4th, 135.2. So they're 1.8% behind Adelaide Crows there, and only a game behind Adelaide is the Western Bulldogs. So that percentage is crucial. It could be crucial to actually taking 4th spot later in the season. You just don't know, because she's pretty tight from 2nd all the way down to 8th. Just 2.5 games in it. But the thing about the Western Bulldogs, folks, is they have that big percentage. And they just need to keep on rolling, keep on winning, which I think next week they probably will. They're playing Sydney Swans up at the SCG, which is going to be an absolute ring-a-ding-ding game. I tell you what, always had some good battles between Sydney Swans and the Western Bulldogs, but that's where they sit on the ladder at the moment on 32 points. Sitting at 8th, of course, Sydney down there. 2 games clear. So that's a game next week. Sydney will absolutely 100% need to win, or it is season over for Sydney next week. The Western Bulldogs, of course, want to win that, and they want to try and climb that ladder. And I'm sure at some point during the second part of this season, they'll certainly do that. But that is the score. Hey, just to recap, folks, the winners in round 15, of course, it was Fremantle defeating Essendon 104-63. Brisbane Lions had a big win over Geelong 92-51. North Melbourne finally got a win on the board in one of those close games, defeating Carlton. North Melbourne 84, Carlton 73. And, of course, Sydney, they beat Port Adelaide last night 71-52. And, of course, Collingwood, the premiership favourites, had a cruisy win over St Kilda, 108-74 at Marvel Stadium. And, of course, the comeback today where it looked like the Gold Coast Suns were going to win, well, the GWS Giants tsunami came in droves in the final quarter, defeating Gold Coast Suns 106-99. And, of course, tonight, big winners, the Western Bulldogs over Richmond 135-56. What a fantastic effort from the Bulldogs. They did everything right. That's what they had to do. Commiserations to Richmond, but hey, you did put in a reasonably solid second half of football, considering where it was going after just kicking 1 goal for in the first half. There we go. So a few positive things coming out there for Richmond. A few positive things coming out there for the Doggies, but look, it was just a workmanlike win by the Doggies in front of 38,000 fans here at Marvel Stadium today. I think the coach will be pleased, but, you know, as they say, they'll probably still say, oh, they got things to work on, like all good coaches do. All right, folks, hey, thanks everyone for coming in. We did have the poll. 88% tipped the Western Bulldogs. I know we had a couple of Richmond supporters in today. They would have tipped the Tigers, but yeah, I think it was always going to be one for the Doggies to take out today, and that is exactly what happened, folks. And they did it in fine style. Of course, kicking pretty accurate today was the Western Bulldogs. 21 goals, 9 behinds. Fantastic, fantastic scoring. 30 scoring shots to Richmond's 16 scoring shots, 8 goal 8. So you got to be pleased if you're a Dogs fan. I tell you what, she's going to be a great game. She's going to be a great game. As I said, Western Bulldogs next week, you'll be taking on Sydney Swans Friday night football. And the Richmond Tigers, you'll be taking on Adelaide Crows at the MCG next Sunday. But round 16, folks, round 16, that kicks off again next Thursday when Port Adelaide take on Carlton, 12th versus 10th. Well, that's going to be a fascinating game, isn't it? So we've got some good games of footy coming up round 16. We've got Port Adelaide taking on Carlton. We've got Sydney Friday night taking on the Western Bulldogs. Next Saturday, we've got the Gold Coast Suns taking on Melbourne at People First Stadium. Hawthorn taking on North Melbourne down there in Tasmania. I tell you what, that's going to be a fascinating game. Of course, Saturday evening, we've got, well, here comes a percentage booster for the mighty Magpies. They're playing at Marvel Stadium. They're taking on the West Coast Eagle, 1st versus 18th. Wowee. There we go. There's one for the Magpies. And, of course, next Sunday, Richmond taking on the Adelaide Crows. That's going to be another tough game for the Tigers. And, of course, a really fascinating game. What's going to happen over there at Optus Stadium in Perth when the Fremantle Dockers jumping into the top 8, holding in on 6th position. I think they're still 6th. That's it, the Fremantle Dockers. This is a must-win for them as well. They're taking on St Kilda, and you just never know what can happen. Of course, next week, we have 4 teams having a bye. And, of course, this could be allowing, like the Western Bulldogs, to jump up. We've got the Brisbane Lions, the Cats, Essendon, and the Giants. The Brisbane Lions, the Cats, the Giants, these 3, and Essendon having the bye next week. So if the Bulldogs win, they go up. If they win next week, they will leapfrog. Who do I say? Brisbane? Oh, no, they won't. I thought they were going to leapfrog Geelong. They won't leapfrog Geelong. Depends if the Giants win also, but they'll definitely climb the ladder and just get one game closer to the top 4. I tell you what's going to be fantastic week of football next week again. Whew. All right, folks. Hey, thanks for coming on in. That ends out round 15, 2025. Season AFL football action. Another great week of football. Hope your team won. And if they didn't, hey, it's only a week away before we kick it off again. Your team has another chance to come out victors next week, whoever you might play. But fantastic. Thanks everyone for coming in. Hey, until next time, ciao for now. I forgot. What'd you forget, Mark? What'd you forget? What'd you forget? The extra game. Yeah, them and the Bombers have still got that extra game. So that would have been really interesting if the Gold Coast Suns had won today. That would have been on 36. Gold Coast win today. They would have been in. They would have been in 5th spot with a game in hand. So that could have been really, really interesting. So the sunset game in hand. That's exactly right. Well, it was a sunset game in hand. I know. So that pretty much brings them back to the crowd losing that. They were in control of the game for 3 quarters. Poor old Gold Coast Suns. I don't know what Damien Hardwick could be thinking. He'd be just, my gosh, he would have been feeling sick after the game, letting that game slip, knowing that would have cemented them right up in 5th spot with a game in hand. That could have certainly cost them a top 4 at the end of the year, especially when they got a home game next week, where they're always hard to beat. Up there at home, I'll tell you what, takes a special unit to beat Gold Coast up at home up there. So yeah, I mean, good, it brings them back to the pack, but I tell you what, danger sides, the Western Bulldogs, I think, against everyone else. Well, except for the Pies, I think, because I think the Pies are just doing it so well this year, which is great to see. All right, hey, that's all I've got for this one. Round 15 comes to an end. Thanks everyone for coming on in. Thanks, Mark. I hope you're doing well there, young fella. Good to see. Thanks, Cheese 806, Samantha, for coming on in. And everyone else, gear up and go. Boston, the prisoner of war. Good stuff, everyone else. There we go. Appreciate it. Till next time, I'm out. Ciao for now. We'll see you next Thursday night, folks. Port Adelaide taking on Carlton, 7:30 p.m. next Thursday evening, Adelaide Oval. That's the next game. All right. Ciao for now, folks. We'll see you at the next game.